Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. We are back with the glossary of legal terms. The first term today is cadastral map. Cadastral map is a detailed map showing boundaries, ownership, and a value of land parcels. It is used in property registration, taxation, and land use planning. Cadastral maps ensure clarity in land ownership disputes. They form part of public land records maintained by governments. Their scope extends to urban planning, real estate, and a legal verification of land rights. The next term is causation. Causation in law refers to the connection between an act and its effect, particularly in determining liability. It includes both a factual causation, that means but for test, and a legal causation, that is proximate cause. Courts analyze causation to establish responsibility in tort, criminal, and a contract law. Without causation, no legal liability can be imposed. Its scope is central in negligence and damage claims. The next phrase is per diem. Per diem literally means per day and it refers to daily allowances or rates. Employers often provide per diem payments for travel, meals, or lodging expenses. In a legal damages, it can measure daily losses or compensation. Courts also use per diem calculations for jury instructions on pain and suffering. It standardizes cost reimbursement. The next phrase is original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction is the authority of a court to hear a case first before any appellate review. Constitutions or statutes define which courts have such power. For example, Supreme or High Courts may exercise it in disputes involving states. It ensures direct adjudication without prior layers. Its scope varies across legal systems. The next phrase is testimony under oath. Testimony under oath refers to a formal statement made by a witness in a legal proceeding after swearing to tell the truth. It is considered binding and knowingly giving false information constitutes perjury. The oath is intended to reinforce honesty by appealing to legal and moral accountability. Such testimony can be oral in court or written in the form of affidavits. Courts rely on sworn testimony as essential evidence in both civil and criminal trials. The next phrase is key provisions. Key provisions are the most important clauses, sections, or rules within a legal document, contract, or legislation. They outline the central obligations, rights, or principles governing the agreement. These provisions are often highlighted to prevent disputes and ensure clarity. In contracts, they may include payment terms, duration, warranties, and dispute resolution mechanisms. The enforceability of a document often depends on the precision of its key provisions. The next term is jurisprudent. Jurisprudent is a legal scholar, philosopher, or expert deeply engaged in the study of law and jurisprudence. The term emphasizes intellectual interpretation and a theoretical understanding rather than practical application. Jurisprudence contributes to shaping legal philosophy, doctrines, and principles. They may influence lawmakers, judges, and legal systems through their writings and interpretations. In a modern context, jurisprudents are recognized as thought leaders in a legal theory. The next phrase is language rights. Language rights refers to the legal protections granted to individuals or communities to use, preserve, and be educated in their language. They ensure fair participation in legal, political, and social processes without a linguistic discrimination. Many constitutions and international treaties enshrine language rights as fundamental. In courts, these rights include access to interpreters and legal documents in one's own language. They also support a cultural identity and a minority protections. The next phrase is why tender notice. Why tender notice is a formal legal or commercial announcement inviting bids or offers for contracts. It ensures transparency in procurement and contracting processes. Tender notices outline requirements, deadlines, and evaluation criteria. They provide equal opportunity for participants in a competitive bidding. The scope is significant in government contracts, construction, and a cooperative procurement. The next phrase is original sin, legal doctrine in religious law context. In a religious legal systems, original sin refers to the inherited condition of sinfulness passed from the first humans. Its doctrinal influence shapes law on morality, family, and inheritance in some traditions. It establishes the need for redemption or cleansing rituals. While primarily theological, it has legal implications in canon law. It symbolizes the intersection of faith and law. The next phrase is peremptory norm. A peremptory norm, also called a jus cogens, is a fundamental principle of international law accepted as overriding and non-derogable. No state may deviate from or contract out of these norms, even by agreement. Examples include prohibitions against genocide, slavery, and torture. They are binding on all states regardless of consent. Such norms represent the highest hierarchy in international law. The next phrase is bounty hunter. A bounty hunter is a private agent who captures fugitives or bail jumpers in exchange for monetary rewards. Their authority often derives from bail bond agreements and is recognized differently across jurisdictions. In some regions, they may act with police-like powers, while in others, their activities are restricted. Bounty hunters or a bounty hunting blends law enforcement with a private enterprise. Its scope raises debates on due process and accountability. The next phrase is listing rules. Listing rules are the regulatory requirements companies must follow to list their securities on a stock exchange. They cover eligibility, disclosure, governance, and their ongoing obligations. These rules ensure transparency, investor protection, and a market integrity. Non-compliance can lead to suspension or delisting. They differ across exchanges but share global standards of corporate responsibility. The next phrase is probation officer. A probation officer is a court-appointed officer who supervises offenders released under probation instead of imprisonment. They monitor complaints with the conditions such as employment, rehabilitation, or treatment. Probation officers provide reports to courts and recommend further actions. Their role blends social work with the law enforcement. They are vital in reducing recidivism and supporting reintegration. The next phrase is steering clause. A steering clause is a contractual provision designating a specific jurisdiction, law, or forum for dispute resolution. It provides predictability and reduces conflicts about where and how disputes will be settled. Steering clauses are common in international trade and commercial contracts. They enhance legal certainty for parties. However, courts may reject them if they restrict fairness or statutory protections. The next phrase is zero return investment. A zero return investment is an investment that generates no financial profit or income. It may occur due to market loss, mismanagement, or intentional non-profit goals. Some socially driven investments accept zero returns to prioritize social impact. In finance, it signals poor allocation of capital. Investors typically avoid such outcomes unless tied to philanthropy. The next term is notary. A notary is a legal officer authorized to certify documents, administer oaths, and witness signatures. Their authentication provides evidentiary value in legal transactions. Notaries safeguard against fraud by verifying identities and voluntariness. They play a crucial role in property, commercial, and international dealings. Their powers differ depending on jurisdiction. The next phrase is zero-sum agreement. A zero-sum agreement is one where one party's gain is exactly equal to the other party's loss. It reflects a competitive rather than cooperative arrangements. Such agreements are common in financial derivatives and adversarial negotiations. They contract with win-win frameworks that allow mutual benefit. Their scope is often limited in long-term partnerships due to sustainability concerns. The next phrase is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature that creates a hostile or intimidating environment. It includes verbal, non-verbal, or physical actions. Laws prohibit it in workplaces, schools, and public spaces. Victims have remedies through complaints, lawsuits, or institutional mechanisms. Prevention policies and training are mandatory in many organizations. The next phrase is why termination clause. Why termination clause is a contractual provision detailing the conditions under which an agreement may be ended. It may allow termination for clause convenience or upon notice. Such clauses prevent disputes by clarifying rights and obligations at a termination. They balance flexibility and fairness between parties. The scope applies widely in employment service and commercial contracts.